Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Grenada records 7 COVID-19 related deaths in a 24-hour period. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Wednesday, 8th September 2021. Details when we return.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. The COVID-19 death toll in Grenada continues to rise. In a statement, the Ministry of Health says 7 COVID deaths were recorded in a single day, increasing the country's death toll from 5 to 12. The deceased, all of whom have comorbidities, were confirmed cases of COVID-19, ranging in age from 26 to 85 years. The Ministry of Health has confirmed that 5 of the deaths were among patients admitted to the General Hospital, with 1 death at the Princess Alice Hospital and the 7th person dying at home. Data provided by the Ministry of Health indicates that 4 of the deceased were females and 3 males. 4 of the deceased were residents of St. George, while the remaining 3 were from St. Andrew. At the time of this release, more than 20 COVID-19 positive patients are hospitalized, with a few of them listed in critical condition. Minister of Health Nicholas Steele, during a program Perspectives on Monday morning, spoke about the 4 additional deaths that were recorded in the preceding 24 hours. He says a person 30 years is among the deceased, while the majority are 50 years and above. In addition, on Saturday, a baby less than 1 year old tested positive for COVID-19 along with the grandmother. Health officials have confirmed that the majority of deaths being recorded is among the unvaccinated. The Ministry of Health continues to encourage Grenadians to get vaccinated, as this reduces the risk of severe disease, hospitalization and death attributed to COVID-19. With an uptick in nationals traveling overseas over the last few weeks, the Ministry of Health in Trinidad and Tobago says it is expecting an increase in COVID-19 cases among those returning. Fully vaccinated nationals are not required to quarantine, but the Ministry of Health is once again urging people to practice personal responsibility upon their return home. TV6's Renessa Cutting reports.
Since TNT's borders have reopened, the majority of persons who have entered the country have been vaccinated against COVID-19.
At last update, we had received a combination of nationals and non-national adults of about 14,222 returning to the country vaccinated. And then we had approximately 1,000 or so unvaccinated kids, 168 kids who were vaccinated because they're in the correct age group. And out of all of those individuals, and we had 452 unvaccinated adults.
And despite the unvaccinated population being much smaller in number, that group had a much higher incidence of COVID infection.
We only had about 0.02%. So that's 0.02% of the total vaccinated nationals coming back with any sort of positive test, whereas we had nearly 1%, 0.88% of those who were unvaccinated having a positive result. So that's an odds ratio of about 42 times. They're 42 times more likely to have been unvaccinated and then shown up with a positive. So that just gives you an idea, again, of how well the vaccines actually worked.
Still, with vaccinated nationals not having to undergo quarantine, the Ministry of Health is urging returning nationals to take extra precaution.
With enhanced air travel, but we do still want to point out that with the enhanced holiday travel that we have been seeing, with the activities that we've been seeing people getting engaged in, all the parties, Labor Day, etc., that we know that people have gone out to enjoy and come back, we do expect that we may see increased numbers of cases in that returning travel group. Still advised to monitor their own health and to some extent to limit their interactions and their movements, unnecessary ones, as much as possible in the first couple of weeks after coming back.
TNT has recorded 6 cases of the Delta variant of concern, all in unvaccinated returning nationals.
They would have been considered unvaccinated. All persons have been treated and managed in our parallel healthcare system, and some have been discharged and others are doing well.
To date, there have been no variants of interest detected.
Of the samples that have been coming to us, and more recently, the vast majority are Gamma, okay? The only other ones we've seen are those 6 Delta cases, which, as you heard, are all quarantined individuals. And there's another lineage, which is not a variant of concern that we've seen as well.
Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
Meanwhile, in Barbados, the island recorded 68 new positive cases of COVID-19, as there continues to be a steady rise there.
There continues to be a steady rise in coronavirus infections. The island recorded 68 new cases, 28 males and 40 females, tested positive from 1,118 tests conducted on Sunday by the Besti Santos Public Health Laboratory. The new positives include 61 persons who are 18 years old and over, and 7 who are under the age of 18. There are currently 546 people in isolation. Barbados has recorded 5,470 confirmed cases of the virus overall, and there have been 51 deaths. Under the National Vaccination Program, 115,606 people have received first doses of the COVID-19 vaccines, while 95,444 persons, that's 35.2% of the population, are now fully vaccinated.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness laments that only 40,000 students have been vaccinated to date, and he suggests that the country may have to revise its target to achieve herd immunity.
At the start of the local campaign, about 1.7 million people, or over 65% of the population, needed to be vaccinated to achieve herd immunity against the virus. But Prime Minister Andrew Holness has put the country on alert that the figure may have to be much higher because the virus has evolved.
We are at about 13% of Jamaica receiving at least 1 dose of the vaccine. That is far, far too low. We are not at a point where the vaccination is having an impact on transmission, and we are way from the 65% needed to attain herd immunity. And with the new Delta strain, it might be that the 65% isn't enough. We may have to go even higher.
The Prime Minister addressed the matter during the St. Thomas leg of his COVID-19 vaccine community tour. He also used the occasion to express his displeasure with the vaccine uptake among students. Mr. Holness reasoned that some parents were not entertaining the opinions of their children regarding the vaccine.
So the last statistics I saw was somewhere in the region of about 30,000. There would probably be about 40,000 now. I'm not pleased with that. I think we can have more children vaccinated. And my personal view is that there are more children who want to get vaccinated, but parents are standing in their way. Now, we can't interfere with the rights of parents over their children. But what we can do is continue the encouragement of parents to get their children vaccinated.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre says the all-day curfew on Sunday was intended to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 while saving lives and livelihoods. Gina Felipe of HTS News Force reports.
Leaders around the world are forced to safeguard the health of its people while also sustaining livelihoods amid the pandemic. Governments have found it difficult to strike a balance between the two in the face of an ever-changing threat. Countries have enforced curfews, lockdowns, and slowed movements in efforts to curb the spread of the COVID-19 virus. On Sunday, September 5, 2021, the government implemented a 24-hour curfew. Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, in a social media post, urged St. Lucia to have some time for reflection during the island-wide curfew. Pierre called on St. Lucia to remain steadfast in faith and follow protocols. He further stated that the move was part of efforts to keep the virus at bay, but also expressed concern about saving lives and livelihoods while enforcing protocols. Sunday worship was also hosted via virtual platforms due to the COVID-19 protocols. Additionally, mass crowd and social gatherings have been banned to discourage socializing to bring the COVID-19 numbers down. However, despite the ban on gatherings and curfews, persons still managed to find time to flout the law. The police force recorded a slew of breaches over the weekend. However, individuals and businesses were issued a word of caution. Some 143 curfew and some 9 mass crowd breaches were recorded on the weekend. 10 buses were also stopped for violating protocols. There was 1 home party violation and 17 warnings for non-wearing of masks. Additionally, 6 bars and 3 organizations identified as restaurants and bars were also let off with a caution. The police registered no river, beach, lime, or home quarantine breaches. Members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force have been deployed island-wide to help with the enforcement of COVID-19 protocols. Gina Filippi, HTS News Force.
Guyana's Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony defended the government's move to revise a section of the COVID-19 regulations. Gordon Mosley of News Source Guyana reports.
Now makes it a requirement for persons to prove vaccination against COVID-19 or produce a negative COVID-19 PCR test result in order to gain entry to any public building, including privately owned ones and businesses. The health minister said the move is a necessary one to keep the country safe. The move has widely been criticized, with the opposition labeling the new measures as authoritative. The health minister does not agree.
It is one way of ensuring that the environments in the public are much safer, because if you have vaccinated people, then the chances are we'll have a much safer environment when we visit those places.
The updated regulations now mean that persons who want to visit the markets and supermarkets, stores, private hospitals, banks, utility companies, and all other private businesses and institutions, including places of worship, would now have to be vaccinated or show proof of a negative COVID-19 PCR test result. Some commercial banks and other businesses have already signaled their intention to abide by the new guidelines. Others have not.
And it's not only for the people who are accessing the service, it's also for the people who are working there. Because we have to create a safe environment if we are going to push back against the COVID-19 disease.
The government has already found itself in a court battle with several workers' unions challenging the measures about government buildings. But the health minister is adamant that the new measures are in order, since in his view the country has been recording a high number of daily COVID-19 cases and has seen an increase in hospitalizations. He believes the vaccination of citizens should be a high priority. There are currently more than 2,000 active cases of COVID-19 in the country.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world, and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket, and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.